Have some interesting discourse.
I will allow a certain amount of nonsense before I've had enough.
Really?
Yeah.
How much nonsense? Like, what's your threshold for nonsense? I have a pretty high tolerance for it.
Maybe like
until it's no longer fun.
Maybe like 3 minutes of nonsense I will accept on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case?
Yeah.
Is it like a flavor of nonsense? Or like if it's just like light, playful banter, is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
But like serious nonsense where someone is like being willfully misunderstanding and just not taking themselves too seriously. I actually have a very low tolerance for that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, very low. Like
very low.
If it's a delusional nonsense, I'm out.
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out before it's begun.
Absolutely.
Don't let that get anywhere near me.
Which just actually happens to be what I had in mind to talk about.
Is
today.
that?
But mostly,
I was tapping in. I didn't even ask you, and I just had this feeling of a palpable irritation radiating off you in waves.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Is working.
I'm just kidding. I had no sense of that, but I don't know. Maybe I am subconsciously picking up on that.
I think so.
Really? All right. Tell me more. Tell me more about this nonsense that you've been dealing with, or.
Well, first, I'm going to share my newest theory that I've been toying around today, which is that unconsciousness is just as conscious as consciousness. It's like,
hold up, stop the presses. You're saying what isn't is?
Yes.
All right.
But
lay your case.
We're just gonna. My exhibit A would be like Superman. Mm-hmm. And Bizarro Superman. That's what I feel unconsciousness is to consciousness.
Two sides of the same coin. They're not separate things. Yeah. They're two sides of the same coin. But elaborate, please.
I have a problem with this.
I know. That's why we do this.
I have a problem with elaborating. Because
exercise.
Why can't you just accept my conclusions? Why do I have to show my work? You know what I'm saying?
Did that ever work for you in school? I just came up with the answer. I don't need to show my work. I just had a download from God, and I just know. There's an inner knowing that I have.
It wasn't accepted. It's still not accepted. All right.
I understand. I actually agree with you, but I want to hear how you've come to that conclusion.
It's taken me years to get to this conclusion, but ultimately I've been at peace for a very long time that the devil is just as good as God, if not greater, and that without each other they don't exist. And I find that with everything. I find that with black and white. I find that with negative and positive. I just feel like it's whatever word we want to use in that moment. Everything around us describes light and darkness.
Oh, so you're talking about one of the Hermetic principles here. Isn't this the law of polarity?
Yes.
Meaning, if one exists, then its opposite must exist. This cannot exist. Either one cannot exist without the other, correct?
This is the inevitability.
It's inevitable. Right.
Of our universe. Yep.
It's pointless to try to eradicate one side. It's more about understanding and seeing why that exists for our own greatness. Yeah.
And recently I've been, going in deeper, and I see within myself how I talked to you about this, how I'm tend to be robotic about things where sometimes I could use a little bit more compassion in the way I say things to certain people.
Yeah, it'd be nice if when I fell, you didn't laugh at me. Or when I was shedding tears of true pain, you wouldn't be like, there. That would help. I think that would be nice.
Okay.
A hug.
I'm working on
it. A pat. Just.
I did say.
There.
Okay. Fair enough. We're on the same page here.
Anyway, yeah, continue.
And then my thinking through it was that, one of the questions I keep asking is like, why is it AI artificial intelligence? What makes the intelligence artificial? And my answer to that was that, well, it's not conscious. that's what makes it artificial. It didn't stem from consciousness. That's why it's programmed by consciousness to do what it does, and to do it as efficiently as possible without, any sort of. It removes the human aspect of things. This is what they show in movies as far as, it's inhumane, because it's not taking into consideration that it's just making mathematical principles. So that, you've seen the examples of like a mother and a daughter drowning in a car, like AI goes after her. I think this is in that Will Smith movie, goes after her and just does the math and just gets the mom, because the probability of her surviving are higher than if it went for the daughter. But the human would go for the daughter first, because this being has more.
This child needs more help, basically.
Right.
The adult is more capable.
Right, but it's also less likely to work. So, just mathematically speaking, AI would rather save one life than no lives.
Right.
And that's a tough decision to make, right?
Right. So human decisions tend to be more emotionally based, as opposed to just pure rationality.
Exactly.
And numbers.
Right. And then so my answer to that is about. I forgot where I was going with this, but can you reel me back in? I'm lost.
You're talking about AI. You didn't understand why artificial intelligence was called.
Oh yeah. So my conclusion to that was that. What makes it artificial is that it lacks that conscious approach, which is that human tendency to do that emotional thing rather than just the calculated result. And then so just my question after that has
closest to the divine, actually. It's not necessarily based on algorithms and patterns. It's about what's important, the connection that has been built there. Also the hopes, the things that you hope for. I don't think machines are necessarily hoping for something. They're just trying to weigh odds.
Yep.
Basically. The capacity to want something and wish for something is a deeply human thing.
Yeah. But it does work. I do believe that human desire for wanting them both to live, or wanting the younger one to live, would actually come to fruition. I do find that argument to be reasonable.
I think humans have a beautiful capacity to think beyond their limitations.
Yes.
So that's the difference.
And then the unconscious, the AI, is limited by the programmer.
The AI is limited by the programmer and limited by rules, basically. Whereas the human spirit has the capacity to believe it can do better. Even if it's unimaginable, even the unthinkable. Humans have enough ego. This is what the AI doesn't have. And this is where ego, you have to see, is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it exists for a reason. Now we're getting back to polarity here. A lot of times spiritual people be like, oh, I have no ego. Or like, I've eradicated my ego, I've killed my ego. And I'm like, BS. I don't trust that person. That person's a liar. That person hasn't conquered, if anything, they haven't conquered their demons. And they're telling themselves a narrative that is likely untrue. But this idea, to use a more positive term, let's say, than ego, is just belief. The having that belief that you can overcome something. I think that's beautiful. And I think that's what pushes us to greatness, because we're not limited by past experience. We're able to dream bigger, right? I think that's the big difference between human intelligence and AI. That's my big campaign against AI. Up high. You like that?
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
I like it too, and I've never actually thought about this until you've spurred the conversation, so thank you.
You're welcome.
No, seriously,
it's my pleasure.
It's something that I've contemplated for a long time regarding AI, but like I haven't been able to put into words until now. So just see, this is why I appreciate this so much. Yeah. There's so much beautiful mind soup that we get to swim in.
It's like this is music to me. This is music to my ears. All of this. I can't play any instruments. This is what I.
This is an instrument.
It is.
The voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing.
And so ultimately, I find that unconsciousness, I find it to be, mostly consciousness, except for that one limitation, because it was programmed. Consciousness just continues to evolve, while unconsciousness doesn't need to, because it has purpose and it knows what to do.
It's something that is trained. It's trained to just do things automatically. So it doesn't take us a time to stop and learn something else. That's the difference. It's still, AI is still, like, even though AI is technically supposedly learns things, but it still learns things that's given to it, as opposed to things that it is actively seeking out, right? Unless I'm completely misunderstood. Maybe I have a very elementary understanding of AI, so if anyone wants to correct me, please do so.
Oh, as do I. I don't know any. I've heard some experts talk, but this is based mostly on my own imagination. So take it as
that. With a grain of salt.
But this sort of thing are the things that don't really need to be proven, because I don't need to convince anybody of anything. These are just my internal beliefs that are guided by wanting to be empowered by my beliefs. So this is an empowering belief to me, because ultimately, why I wanted to call this not history, our story, is because to me, history is living out the unconscious AI, the story of darkness, essentially, that stems from darkness, the devil's story, which haunts you in the night. Meanwhile, our story is where we're the ones chasing the demons. We're the ones conquering light over darkness.
It's an interesting interpretation of the title of this podcast. I just figured history tends to be something that someone else is telling, like stories that other people have written and rewritten and reinterpreted over time.
Well, I feel those are
and applied their own understandings to it, whereas our stories, we're getting to tell it ourselves.
Right.
Primary account
and
here.
What I'm saying goes with what you're saying, because it's the people that have been writing these stories are AI. We are the thing that we scare the most. We're afraid of the most, or at least that in movies.
Spiders?
We're most afraid of ourselves. That's why we're afraid to look at our demons, and learn and grow and go through those growing pains, because we don't want to. We don't want to look at that side of ourselves. So throughout history, not that many people have been waking up to this idea, and I feel like this is more of a time in history where our story, where people are waking up to the idea of conquering themselves, reprogramming themselves to live their best life, their life of greatness, based on their imagination. They're writing the story rather than being carried away by the momentum of his story.
You mentioned something, was it your demons, your dark side? It's like it's hard for people to look at themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Do you find that hard for yourself?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
still?
Sure.
Easier now than it was before?
Yeah. Well, it's more visible now, and I can't ignore it now. Because I can't unsee what I've seen. So now to ignore it then I would be living a delusional life based on a narrative that's not true.
May I ask if you're comfortable with sharing what you consider to be your dark sides or your demons?
It's the same ones, like addictions to substances, to food.
I had that.
Addictions to procrastination. Yeah, addictions to procrastination.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I love to procrastinate.
Sure, who doesn't, right? I mean, the great thing about me is that I don't really have like crazy dark demons. You know, there are some people that have done some dark stuff, and luckily I haven't murdered anyone. You know, I haven't done like Me Too stuff. You know, like I feel good about that. My demons are tameable, absolutely.
Your demons are cute.
Yeah, they're cute.
They're super cute. Like, ah, you little rascally thing. Yeah, not like a
Yeah, my biggest
get out of the room.
My biggest demons were looking at myself as far as like the guilt and shame that I had been holding on to for so long, and then just the acknowledgement of like, how could I have been so dumb for so long? How could I have been duped? You know, and then like just the significance of that and the gratitude within that as to why I wasn't duped. Like I set myself up for greatness. I didn't set myself up to fail. And so I changed the story, and I'm empowered by it because I changed my beliefs. And ultimately, that's what we want to do in this game, is consciously reprogram our unconscious to live out the beliefs that make us that character in the story that really is the great character, as great as you can imagine. And if you leave things unconscious, then you're gonna be that great character on the other side, because it's like that thespian, that actor who is such a great actor that he doesn't break character no matter what, and so that's great within itself. And then in the middle of that, there is waking up to that side of yourself and then not doing it. And then that's where that delusion comes into play, where you've created a new character, but now you're suffering on purpose, which is a different timeline. And so there's so many different timelines in this game, in this movie. It's like that movie on Netflix where throughout the story you get to make choices. Did you ever see that? I forgot the name of it.
I heard of that. I didn't actually do that though.
Yeah, you can make choices throughout it, and it takes it in a different direction.
Oh.
And I believe that that's what this is. And depending on the choices you make, you live out different timelines. And so that's where belief comes into play, because when you believe something, you can't just wish it and believe it and just think it. You have to take action on those beliefs. That's what makes it real, and that's what puts it in the direction of in that timeline where you do become that character. You do become that great story that you deserve for yourself.
Do you believe in free will or destiny?
I think it's the same thing.
Is it the same thing?
I think it's the same thing.
I don't think it's the same thing, but I think they both exist. Let me hear yours though, because you're talking about the whole Netflix and choose your adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
essentially.
So that kind of reminded me of something I had read recently about people's understanding of destiny and people's understanding of free will. So I would like to hear your take on it.
In my imagination, this is how I see it.
We're going somewhere dark now. 18 plus rating now.
Yeah, it's dark because it's deep. You know, in the depths.
Oh, I like how you turn that. Dark because it's deep, not dark because of it's depraved.
Yeah. What was the question again?
Do you believe in free will or destiny?
Okay. So in that example,
and you're saying it's both.
In that example of the Netflix movie where you're making choices, you have like 3 ABC choices to make. When you get to a point, like in the story, things are moving along. You wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, right? The story starts when you wake up, right?
Yeah.
And then you're having breakfast, you're going throughout the day. At some point, something happens, like maybe you get a phone call. And this is one of the choices. You could pick it up or you can not pick it up. And depending on, that story can go either way. Like if that was an important call that you missed, right, then there's going to be consequences to that choice. And so, but here's the thing. There are only, from this one choice where the story stemmed to, where you got this phone call, there are only so many directions it can go, right? The consequences aren't infinity. The consequences are you probably missed an appointment or you made the appointment. And then depending on that, the story goes in different directions, and then that's what goes infinite for long periods of time. But ultimately, you have the free will to choose in every moment as life presents things to you. This is the part that would be, what was the question again?
Free will or destiny?
Yeah, this is the part that would be destiny. Like, this is what life's presenting to you. And then the free will is your choice in the moment.
See, they're two different things. You're basically saying what I'm saying, but two different things.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think they are the same, because destiny is, to me, the consequences of a decision. Like, basically, you pull a trigger of a loaded gun, the bullet's going to come out. That is cause and effect. That must happen. That is the of pulling the trigger, there is a bullet is destined to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I view as destiny. But it is, destiny is the effect of a decision, an action that was made. That's the free will part. So I believe free will sets things into destiny. It's not that destiny just completely controls you, but there has to be consequences.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. To what you do. That, to me, is the destiny. But what you do with the after effects of that, it's like there's these interplaying forces together. It goes back to you again. Free will, what are you going to do as a result of this?
Yep.
Of a target being hit, a person being hit, something being ricocheted. What do you do in response to that? It goes back to the free will. And then your decision from there sets up another course.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
It does to me. How about you?
I think that's it. So, it's really interesting to me when people think one way or the other. Mm. That, God decides everything for you.
So that is an argument, right? That people make where it's free will versus destiny.
Yeah. Well, I think they work in tandem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's versus, usually.
Yeah. Well, that's the misunderstanding of humanity. We think it's God versus the devil.
But in reality,
we are oneness.
They both must exist. How do you know God if the devil does not exist? How do you know the devil if God does not exist? Two great polar opposites.
True
but
story.
They're not in opposition. In a way, they're just doing their jobs.
They're dancing.
They're I'm not necessarily sure that they're friends, but they're certainly colleagues, very close working colleagues.
To me, they're each other's best friend because there's nothing else. It's like it's to me, the devil is God's imaginary friend. You know how kids have imaginary friends and it's their best friend?
Uh-huh.
Because nothing else really.
What kind of childhood did you have? You had really effed up imaginary friends.
No, I didn't really have imaginary friends.
I tried.
I think those were snapped out of me very young.
I tried to have imaginary friends because I thought the idea was cool. And the idea that I can just control whatever. But it just seemed weird. I'm like,
yeah.
This isn't very exciting.
The thought wasn't fed. So
I
it
had
kind
an
of
active
There was a
imagination.
movie that I liked.
A movie?
That with an imaginary friend.
Which movie?
I don't remember the name of it.
Who was in it?
Nobody famous. It's about a little girl with an imaginary friend who gets her into trouble.
Drop Dead Fred?
Yes.
I remember that one, yes.
Yeah.
Not the greatest movie, but I remember that.
It's not a good movie.
I have fond memories of it.
I loved watching that movie. I would watch it again today.
I had pets. I had imaginary pets. Like an imaginary white tiger. His name was Blaze. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah. It was inspired by an anime that I had watched, Ronin Warriors. And I loved the idea that there was a white tiger that was just cool and just chilling. Yeah. But could attack on command. It was great.
I like it.
Yeah. So I had one of those.
That's an empowering thought. I like it.
You're welcome.
I would adapt that into my life.
You're welcome. I had to entertain myself a lot as a kid. When I think I sound like an old person now because when I see young people, I'm like, you guys have such a different view of what's entertaining now. Because I had to entertain myself for the large majority of my childhood, so it was very imaginative, right? And I liked going outside. I couldn't. Kids nowadays, you have to pull teeth to get them to go outside.
Right.
But I was you could not keep me home.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be out and about. I always wanted to be on my bike. I always wanted to be at the park. It's interesting. It's interesting how you do become a product of the times, I think. People are so plugged in right now that everything, the idea back then was that you had to go out in order to learn about the world. But now the understanding is you have the world at your fingertips. So everything you can just look up on your phone or on the internet. And there it is. You could just know what you can, in a way, quote unquote, experience something just through a couple of clicks, right?
Yep.
I wonder what that does to us. Does that put us in a hypnotic rhythm, you think?
Absolutely.
Is that the work of the devil? That, according to Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, right? Which we've mentioned on a couple of these podcasts. It's a really great book. It's basically Napoleon Hill, the author of a very influential self-help book called Think and Grow Rich, which influenced, I think, many generations of entrepreneurs. Yeah. He wrote this other book called Outwitting the Devil. It's essentially, he doesn't say if this is an imagined or this actually happened, but he says it's a conversation that he had essentially with himself and the devil. And the devil tells him how the devil has 98% of the world under his rule, and how the devil gets people to do certain things and basically keep themselves down. And that book was not released for the longest time. I think it was originally written in 1938. It didn't get published until like
2016.
Yeah, fairly recently, like that, yeah. By Napoleon Hill's estate, right. Because it talks about the devil, and the family was involved with like the church communities and stuff. They didn't want to release that for the longest time, fearing that there would be backlash. So finally it was...
Knowing that there would be backlash.
Yeah. But it's actually a really great book. It's actually very deep and profound in learning how the devil keeps you from becoming aware, becoming conscious. One of the things he mentions is keeping people getting into a hypnotic rhythm, which is kind of like getting into such a routine and a comfort zone, essentially, that you just do things without even thinking anymore. You don't even realize how life is going, and before you know it, just life has passed by you, right? Mm-hmm. That's one way, one simplistic way of describing it. But I don't know exactly where I was going with, but I think I just wanted to really recommend this to everybody, because recently it's been in my consciousness again because I saw it on somebody's table, and I'm like, that's a great book. Yeah. Maybe it's a sign. It's a sign for me to be wary of getting too comfortable in rhythm.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The hypnotic rhythm is actually unbiased. Hypnotic rhythm is just a tool that the devil uses, which is because he offers more romantic things than God does. So the choices that he presents, they're more attractive. And so the more that's how his tool is actually presenting you with the most tentative options to sway you, to sway your ego, to bring your ego toward a direction. Mm-hmm. And then the younger he gets at you, the more that hypnotic rhythm picks up momentum. This is what karma is, right? That's why when you wake up to this idea, then you can't just change things and put that hypnotic rhythm on the other side. There's going to be a karmic delay to things because you've been going in that direction for such a long period of time already. And so that's why, but you can consciously change that hypnotic rhythm to work in your favor. Right. It's just going to take, sheer determination. But the best way to beat the devil is by educating your kids from the beginning and not letting the devil get a hold of their hypnotic rhythm before consciousness does. And that's how we win the game for all of us. If we want to.
Teaching people to think for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to assess each situation on a case-by-case basis and not just kind of like, just roll along with things. What's that smile?
I don't know. I just enjoyed that.
Oh.
That was nice.
You seemed energized by that.
Yeah.
You really do like talking about the devil.
He's one of my favorite characters.
This is why people misunderstand you. I think this is why YouTube has issues with your videos.
Sure. I mean,
people who lack context and just hear you talk about the devil and how you say you love the devil.
I get that.
That can sound really bad.
Yeah. I'm becoming more conscious of that.
I was like, yeah, I think you need to know your audience better.
Well, that's the thing, is because it takes so long to say things.
You gotta context.
And I'm impatient. You see, I'm thinking that I'm patient, right?
You're not.
To you, to my friends, you guys think that I'm patient overall, but really, secretly, in the dark, I'm impatient.
I think so.
Because I don't want to wait for people to catch up with my thinking. I just expect them to be there already. Meanwhile, I've been thinking this shit through for long periods of time. And I just want you to be there already. Get there with my simplistic 2-minute rants.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I think you're actually very patient, and I think you're also very impatient. It just depends on the situation. I think you're very patient with things that you understand will take time. Like things that you have to nurture, things like projects that take a step-by-step approach, you're very patient about that. What you're impatient about is if you're already there and you're waiting for someone, you become very impatient.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing.
You're welcome. I got you. Is there anyone you're waiting for? Hopefully I'm not one of those people you're waiting for.
No, you're right there with me. I'm very grateful for you, because otherwise I would think that I'm in a living out a delusion. If these things don't get supported in any way, then I'll question them every step of the way. But rather, I purposely surround myself with people that believe in me and who ultimately see the long story that I'm trying to share, because, we've been friends for a long time. I've been unraveling this thing in real time for you. You're welcome. And so we get these long-term results.
I'm a big fan of you, Jay Aedo. I am also fulfilling my highest purpose as being a spiritual enabler. I've just recently discovered this. I've come to the conclusion. I think I've known intuitively for a long time, but I never had a way of describing it.
So what is it now? What is it?
I'm a spiritual enabler. That's my purpose. Meaning...
I love that.
Yeah, no, it was actually fairly recent. Because I always thought of it as I'm just good at supporting people, and I'm good. And I even talked to you about this in terms of this podcast happening. I'm like, I would never do a podcast by myself, but I would jump on it if you did it, and so you did it, and I jumped on it too, right? I always thought of myself as like a production team on a movie. Like, you don't see me on screen, but I help with other things. But I think in general, I didn't have a good label for it. And then I realized spiritual enabler, which is great because I enable people to reach, or I enable people or experiences to reach the highest potential. And I think that's actually great. Right? My sister, Jade, she always says she's like, I have all these dumb ideas and you're always encouraging me. And it's usually with regards to helping people or taking on something that seems impossible, or like when it comes to activations or just doing something beyond the scope of our imaginations. And I'm always like, well, yeah, as long as we don't die, let's do it. As long as I believe it's a good idea. And I have to believe, a big factor of it is my own belief.
You gotta sell me on it. You can't I'm not gonna just pick up
my
all
own,
your ideas.
Yeah, I'm not gonna just enable anything. But if I truly believe there's like a higher purpose to this, whether it's someone reaching their potential or something, a great opportunity opening up, or great healing to happen, or farming, just again, even a financial opportunity, that's not like, I'm not looking down on that either, but there's something to grow from whatever it is I'm looking at. I'm very good at directing my passions toward that. So yes, my purpose is spiritual enabler. I upped up.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard you tell me your purpose.
No. Well, because I knew what it was, but I wasn't able to succinctly express it. But I want to, that's something, once I realized that, I was like, oh my God, I need that on a t-shirt.
Get it. Let's order that today.
I need it on a sweatshirt.
What's it going to say?
I'm probably gonna put that on all my social media handles too. You know how you can have like a little subtitle under your name? I need to do that. Spiritual enabler. That's my trademark. TM. Take that to the bank.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm quite happy about that.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. What are you? What's your purpose?
My ultimate purpose is to free myself from my secret enslavement.
Oh. We have to find something pithy and catchy for that.
Yeah, it's not that catchy.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
We can fire him. Let's think about that. If anyone has any ideas, let us know in the comments.
Please.
How we can brand.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
How do we brand your purpose in
Yeah.
life? How do we put that in a way that's easy to remember? We'll figure this out.
We will figure it out. I can find better words. I'm not the best salesman.
No, but you're a great fighter. A great spiritual freedom fighter. But I'll think more about this.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else for today? Anything else that's on your mind? Well, I think originally, weren't you talking about nonsense and how you had a low tolerance for nonsense? Where did that go? Did we talk about that at all?
No, well, that stemmed from just somebody in my life whom I feel is delusional. And the amount... so when somebody is delusional to me, I never argue with them or I never escalate things. So I keep things very superficial. But there's a part of me that felt like I should let this person know that they're delusional. But I feel like...
Did you slap them?
No. No, I felt like ultimately
bring them back to reality.
The best choice for me to make, if I really want this person to at some point snap out of it, is to keep things friendly and superficial and not to impose my beliefs upon this person.
Interesting.
And ultimately, that is where my conclusion has laid, and I'm pretty happy with it.
So what is it, if you could repeat the conclusion that you reached?
Just to keep this person, not shun this person out of my life because they're delusional, but instead to just keep it friendly, keep it light, keep it superficial, and let this person figure things out on their own.
Right. To show them compassion.
Who am I to shed light on things if they don't want light shed on it?
No, that is their journey. Maybe that's how they have to learn. That's the story they've written for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the best lessons are through experience oftentimes.
And the best thing I can do is learn from it. There's no reason, because...
there's a wisdom in the foolishness.
I think so, absolutely. For me, it's that character that refuses to break character, that actor that refuses to break character, and it's admirable.
That's method. Spiritual method acting is when you really go headlong into this experience. And not only is it an experience for themselves to learn from, it's for our benefit.
Exactly.
So you should really thank that person's higher self.
It's
like thank you for choosing that and showing me what that looks like. Because by Ho'oponopono, I am you, you are me. So you are showing me what my life would have been like had I made different decisions in life.
Absolutely. So it's like my own personal Daniel Day-Lewis performing just for me in my imagination.
There you go. And that, if you look at people in the world like that, you'll learn to look at them with greater compassion and even great gratitude, as opposed to be like, the hell are you doing? Yeah. What is wrong with you? Yeah.
Or even worse, shunning them away and eliminating them from your life, and then you don't learn anything either. That's where history has steered us wrong. History has steered us toward the direction of being afraid. That is not
oneness.
No,
by the way,
exactly.
You have to. I wouldn't say that if someone's being super negative to hold them close to you, but keep the door open.
Yeah, keep things at a distance I can keep my sanity.
Yeah, if you implode, let the debris hit everything but me. But at the same time, once you're ready, I'm here. Yeah.
And along the way, I'm here. Keeping it light. I'm not gonna invest all my time into you, but
keep it light, keep it fluffy.
Yeah. Sometimes people in your life need to be light and fluffy. Not everybody can play that heavy, dense role in your life. That's it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Heavy, dense. Though I wouldn't describe you as light and fluffy, I'm glad that you decided to take that on.
Thank you.
for someone else's
Thank
sake. You're welcome. Well, until next time, this has been our story. We need to find a better way to end this.